Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Peruan Saranai. Good evening, Venerable Mahasangha, Sayales and brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today we will be talking further on the Parittārammaṇa Tika, limited sense object triplet. The Parittārammaṇa Tika, or limited sense object triplet, has three terms. Parittārammaṇa Dhamma states having limited sense objects. Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma states having sublime sense objects. And Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma states having immeasurable sense objects. We have already discussed the first term, Parittārammaṇa Dhamma. So now we will continue with Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma. So we will start with the summary section description. Katame Dhamma Mahaggatārammaṇa. Which are the states that have sublime sense objects? Now, what are sublime sense objects? Sublime sense objects refer to anything that is sublime, which means anything belonging to the fine material sphere, the Rūpāvachara Bhūmi, or the immaterial sphere, the Arūpāvachara Bhūmi. That means the 15 Rūpāvachara consciousness, Chitta, and their accompanying Cetasika, mental factors, as well as the 12 Arūpāvachara Chitta Cetasika, the fine material sphere, consciousness, and their associated mental factors. Those are what we call Mahaggatārammaṇa, sublime sense objects. Now, whatever state that takes these sublime dhammas, these Mahaggatārammaṇa as their object, is called a Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma. So let's see what they are. Mahaggate dhamme ārabba ye uppajjanti chitta cetasika dhamma. The conscious states and their mental factors which arise in connection with sublime sense objects. Ime dhamma Mahaggatārammaṇa. These are the states that have sublime sense objects. Now, the Atthasālinī, the commentary to the Dhammasaṅgaṇī, gives the description of certain terms. So, in this triplet, they have given this word ārabba. What is the meaning of ārabba? Ārabba means having made a mental object with or with reference to. So, regardless of whether they themselves are limited or sublime. So, these Dhamma, the Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma, may be either limited or sublime. So, regardless of which plane that these Chitta Cetasika, these consciousness and mental factors belong to, what is being focused on is the sense object that they take. So they are taking a sense object that is sublime, regardless of what they are or to which plane they belong to. So the Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma can be either limited or sublime. They can be either Paritta Dhamma or a Mahaggata Dhamma. So we will discuss this further in the next slide. Now let's look at the commentary chapter, the Atthakatha Khandam, description of Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma. Katame Dhamma Mahaggatārammaṇa. Which are the states that have sublime sense objects? Viññānaṁ chāyatanaṁ neva saññā na saññāyatanam. The base of infinite consciousness, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Ime dhamma Mahaggatārammaṇa. These are the states that have sublime sense objects. Now let's look at the two states that were mentioned under the commentary chapter. The Viññānaṁ chāyatanaṁ and the neva saññā na saññāyatanam, these two consciousness are two consciousness belonging to the immaterial sphere, the arupavachara. They are arupavachara jhana consciousness. The viññānañcāyatana, the object, the sense object that it takes is the consciousness of the base of infinite space. In other words, the ākāsānañcāyatana citta is what the viññānañcāyatana citta focuses on, or that is what it takes as its sense object or its ārammana. And the neva saññāyatana, the base of neither perception nor non-perception, that consciousness takes as its ārammana or as its sense object the consciousness of the base of nothingness, ākiñcaññāyatana. So when you look at these two sense objects, these two ārammana, one is ākāsānañcāyatana, the other one is ākiñcaññāyatana. These two are immaterial sphere or arupavachara bhumi citta. Therefore, they are Mahaggatārammaṇ. So, both these consciousness, that is the viññānañcāyatana and the neva saññāyatana, those consciousness will always take a Mahaggatārammaṇ or a sublime sense object as its ārammana, as its object at all times. So, in other words, they are called ekānta Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma, because at all times they will take a sublime sense object as its ārammana. Now here we will look at all of the dhammas that take a sublime sense object as its ārammana, as its sense object. So on the left side, we get the ekānta Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma. That means they always take a sublime sense object. And these are what we discussed in the previous slide, the viññānañcāyatana citta and the neva saññāyatana citta, along with the mental factors, the cetasika that arises together with them. And here we get 30 cetasika. And why only 30 cetasika are associated with them? Because they are fifth jhana. So according to the 5 jhana system, we will call them 5th jhana, or if according to the 4 jhana system, it will be 4th jhana. So under that jhana system, we don't get vitakka, vichara and piti. So from the 38, we will have to deduct those 3. And in addition, with these arupavachara jhana, we don't get the Appamāṇā, the illimitables, as well as the 3 virati, the abstinences. So altogether, we need to deduct 8 cetasika from the total of 38. So we are left with just 30 cetasika. And then, now we will look at the anekānta Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma. Anekānta Mahaggatārammaṇa. So the word anekānta means that these Dhamma will take sublime sense objects at certain times, and at other times they will take other sense objects as its ārammana. So they may take sublime at a certain time, and then they may take limited, or they may take immeasurable or even concepts at other times. So what are these anekānta Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma? So first, we have mentioned the 28 kama javana. Kama refers to the sense sphere, the kama avachara bhumi. And the 28 kama javana mentioned here are the 8 kama avachara kusala, the 12 akusala, and the 8 kriya chitta. So, we have excluded the hasituppada, the smile-producing chitta, because hasituppada is a ekānta Parittārammaṇa Dhamma. It only takes Paritta Dhamma, that is limited sense objects, as its ārammana. So those are all kāmāvachara chitta that falls under that category. Next we have the 5th jhana, kusala and kriya, abhiññā. or direct knowledge. These consciousness also can take Mahaggatārammaṇa as their sense object. And then we have Manodvāra the mind-adverting consciousness. And this consciousness, Manodvāra is it's very important because this is the first chitta when it comes to the Manodvarika chitta viti. This is the first consciousness that starts that particular chitta viti or the cognitive process. So the Manodvara Vajjana can take absolutely anything as its sense object. So together with this consciousness, we get 47 Cetasika, excluding the 2 Appamāṇā, illimitables, and the 3 Virati abstinences. And why do we have 47? Now, that is because the total we are taking is out of 52, because the akusala are mentioned under the 28 Kama Javana. So from a total of 52, we are deducting 5. So we are left with 47 Cetasika. Now, in the previous slide, I mentioned that regardless of whether that particular chitta cetasika is limited or sublime, they may take a sublime sense object as its ālambana. So this slide, it explains it perfectly. So on the left-hand side, we have arupavachara chitta cetasika, which are sublime, Mahaggatārammaṇa, they are sublime objects. And on the right-hand side, the Kama Javana are Paritta Dhamma. And then the Abhinya, 5th jhana, Kusala and Kriya are Mahaggatārammaṇ. And Manodvara Vajjana is a Paritta Dhamma. So regardless of whether they are Paritta or Mahaggata, they can take as its object a sublime sense object. We now move on to the last term, Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma, states that have immeasurable sense object. Now let's look at the summary section description or the Nikkepa Khandam description. Khatame Dhamma Appamāṇārammaṇa, which are the states that have immeasurable sense objects. Appamāne dhamme ārabba ye uppajjanti chitta cetasika dhamma. Conscious states and their main factors which arise in connection with immeasurable sense objects. Imme dhamma appamāṇārammaṇa. These are the states that have immeasurable sense objects. Now again, the word ārabba. Ārabba refers to with reference to, and it means having made a mental object. So here, what is the mental object? It's a immeasurable sense object. So what is immeasurable? Immeasurable refers to Appamāṇa Dhamma. So the Appamāṇa Dhamma are the 8 supramundane or the 8 lokuttara chitta and their associated 36 Cetasika, 36 mental factors, the 8 supramundane consciousness and the 36 mental factors. Now again here it is mentioned that the Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma may be limited, sublime or immeasurable. So regardless of what the object is, the consciousness and the mental factors that take these immeasurable objects as their ālambana can belong to either of the 3 groups. They may be Paritta, Mahaggata or Appamāṇa Dhamma themselves. Yes, so I forgot to mention Nibbana. So under Appamāṇa Dhamma, we get not only the Chitta Cetasika, but we get Nibbana also under Appamāṇa Dhamma. The commentary chapter description, Khatame Dhamma Appamāṇārammaṇa, which are the states that have immeasurable sense objects. Chattaro Magga Apariyāpanna. Chattaricha Samanya Palani. The 4 paths which are unincluded, and the 4 fruits of the life of a recluse. Imme Dhamma Appamāṇārammaṇa. These are the states that have immeasurable sense objects. Now, the 4 paths and the 4 fruits, they are all supramundane consciousness and associated mental factors. Now, they always take Nibbana as their object. And because Nibbana is an immeasurable sense object, we call these Magga and Phala Chitta Cetasika as Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma. So again, we have the Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma being classified under Ekanta and Anekanta. Ekanta means that they always take an immeasurable sense object as their Arammana or as their object. So here we get the 8 supramundane or the 8 lokuttara chitta and the 36 cetasika. So these Dhamma, they themselves are immeasurable. They themselves are Appamāṇa Dhamma. Then on the other hand, we have the Anekanta Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma. These Dhamma take immeasurable sense objects at certain times, and at other times they are able to take other objects like Parittārammaṇa, Mahaggatārammaṇa, or even concepts. So what are these? We get the 8 Jnana Sampayutta, Kusala and Kriya, which are the 4 wholesome or the 4 Kusala and the 4 Kriya functionals associated with knowledge. These are all Kāmāvachara. They're all sense sphere consciousness. Then we get the Abhiññā, 5th jhana, Kusala and Kriya, direct knowledge, Kusala and Kriya. Again, we get the Manadvara Vachana because that is the starting point of all the mental processes, cognitive processes. That is again Kāmāvachara. And together with them, we get 33 Cetasika, excluding the 2 Appamāṇñā and 3 Virati. So remember here, when it comes to the Kāmāvachara, Kusala and Kriya, you get only the Jnana Sampayutta Kusala and Kriya, because the Jnana Vippayutta Kusala and Kriya cannot take supramundane Dhammas as their object. It has to be a Jnana Sampayutta Kusala or a Kriya Chitta. Now, under the commentary chapter, there are a few more paragraphs coming under it. And now let's look at that section. Kāmāvachara kusalato chattaro jnana vippayutta chittupada. The 4 sense sphere, wholesome states, dissociated from knowledge. Kiriyato chattaro jnana vippayutta chittupada. 4 functional states, dissociated from knowledge. Sabbang akusalang, all unwholesome states. Ime Dhamma, siya Parittārammaṇa, siya Mahaggatārammaṇa, na Appamāṇārammaṇa. These states can have limited sense objects, they can have sublime sense objects, they cannot have immeasurable sense objects. Siyanavatabba Parittārammaṇa Titi, Mahaggatārammaṇa Titi. They can be not stated as having limited sense objects, nor as having sublime sense objects. Now, what does this mean? Now, here it is mentioned, we have the 4 Kāmāvachara Jnana Vippayutta Kusala Chitta, we have the 4 Jnana Vippayutta Kriya Chitta, and the 12 Akusala. Now, when it comes to these 20 states, they can be, or in other words, they can either take a Paritta Dhamma or a Mahaggata Dhamma as their sense object, but they cannot take Appamāṇa Dhamma as their sense object. So they can take only a Paritta or a Mahaggata Dhamma. Then again, the last sentence says at certain times that they will take an object which does not belong to Paritta or Mahaggata. So what it really means is that at certain times, these 20 states can take concepts or paññatti as their sense object. But according to this triplet, we are talking only about Parittārammaṇa Dhamma, Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma, and Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma. So because it doesn't fall under any of these three classifications, for that reason, only this last sentence is brought in. So concepts are not falling under any of these three terms. So now let's look at the Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma that was mentioned. So here we get the 12 akusala and the 8 jnana vipayuta kama javana. So these can take all Dhamma as its sense objects, except for supramundane Dhamma. So therefore, they can take the 81 mundane Chitta and the 52 Chetasika, as well as the 28 Rupa and Paññatti concepts as their sense objects. And when it comes to the 4 Jnana Sampayutta Kamavachara Kusala and the 5th Jnana Kusala Abhiññā, they can take all Dhamma except for the Arahatta Magga and Phala Chitta. And then the Manodvara Vachana, the 4 Jnana Sampayutta Kamavachara Kriya, and the Abhiññā 5th Jnana Kriya, the direct knowledge Chitta, these can take all Dhamma. So all 89 Chitta, the 52 Chetasika, 28 Rupa, Nibbana, as well as concepts, Paññatti. They can take all Dhamma as their sense objects. So now let's look at the Atthasālinī, the commentary to the Dhammasaṅgaṇī, what it mentions. So here the 8 states of consciousness dissociated from knowledge, those are the Jnana Vipayutta Kusala, 4 Kusala and 4 Kriya Chitta, occurring to Sekka, the probationers, Putujjana, average persons, and Kīnāsava, Arahants. Now, when do these states occur? So these are the states, these are the instances where these states occur. So whenever, now concerning the sense sphere, so whenever one of these individuals carelessly giving refers to asakkacca dāna. Now, what is the meaning of asakkacca dāna? So there are 2 terms. One is sakkacca, the other is asakkacca. Sakkacca means careful, well prepared. Asakkacca is careless or not well prepared. So if I give you an example for a sakkacca dāna, now let's say I go to the temple and I ask the monks there for permission to give a dāna. Then I come home, I make a list, I prepare a list as to what I'm going to give for the dāna. Then I go to the shop, I buy the best ingredients, then I bring them back, I prepare the dāna in the best possible way. And then I take it to the temple and I offer it to the monks. So that is a very carefully prepared dāna. So that is called a sakkacca dāna. Then what is a asakkacca dāna? It doesn't mean that asakkacca is a bad thing. Sometimes you won't have any time to prepare so much. So for instance, let's say I'm going somewhere and I meet someone less fortunate and I don't have anything with me except for maybe some food that I was taking with me. So it's not really prepared well, it's just some small snack perhaps. So because I don't have anything else to give, I give that to that less fortunate individual. So that would be an asakkacca dāna because it's not something that was carefully prepared, right? So So this careless giving is something like that. So there it would be a jnana vipayutta because it's not carefully prepared. Reflection or paccavekkhana. Sometimes we may reflect on certain good deeds without really thinking too much, without knowledge, just reflecting. Or we may listen to the Dhamma without really giving much attention, without really applying knowledge or applying jnana. So these instances are instances where you get the either the jnana vipayutta kusala or kriya in relation to a limited sense object, a paritta dhamma. And then when it comes to the Mahaggatārammaṇa, now there are 27 Mahaggatārammaṇa. So these are the 15 Rupavachara Chitta and the 12 Arupavachara Chitta. So these Mahaggatārammaṇa, when a person is reviewing an exceedingly developed jhana, it may be one of the jhanas that we mentioned, one of the 27 jhanas. During that reviewing or during that paccavekkhana, if they don't really review it with wisdom, then again, it can be one of these 8 states, the jnana vipayutta kusala or kriya. Then again, at the time of considering concepts such as the kasina nimitta, or when they're thinking about a certain individual. Now, if you're thinking of people or animals, if you have compassion towards a certain person, it can be either with jnana or without jnana. So these are concepts. But according to this triplet, we are not classifying those kind of chitta chetasikas, which is why here it is mentioned as when a certain individual is considering a concept, there we'll have to take it as an undefinable object under this triplet. Navattabbārammana. Navattabbārammana means it cannot be said as belonging to one of these 3 terms. And when it comes to the akusala chitta, now let's consider the akusala chitta. We get 4 vittikata sampayutta chittuppada, 4 consciousness associated with wrong view. These are lobha sahagata chitta. They may take paritta or limited objects at certain times as their sense object. And if they are pleased with or delighted with that certain object, while having a wrong view, then this is a certain instance where they can take a paritta dhamma. So if I give you an example, so let's say a certain person, a poor person, he sees a very valuable object and he develops a craving to take it. And then he thinks, okay, I am poor. That person who owns this object is rich. I'm the one who really needs it. So it's okay to steal from this person because he has enough money. He can buy another thing later on. And he goes and steals it. So there he had a wrong view. He had the wrong view that it is all right to steal from a rich person. So there his lobha chitta was associated with a wrong view. And the object, so there the object, we will have to take it as a rupārammana. So the vanna rupa. So the rupa is the object and the rupa is a paritta dhamma. So here, with regards to a paritta dhamma, he developed a lobha chitta which is associated with wrong view. So in the same way, an individual can have these lobha chitta associated with wrong views in relation to the 27 sublime states or the 27 Mahaggatāra Dhamma. And sometimes they may even have concepts as their object. So for instance, if somebody is thinking about a certain person, a person is a concept, no? So that would be a paññāti. Then, now let's say a certain individual, for example, if we say, I can't think of an example. But here, if the object, if somebody is thinking about a certain individual or a certain concept, basically, then the object will be not one of the three terms. It would not be Paritta, it will not be Mahaggatārammaṇa Dhamma, nor will it be Appamāṇārammaṇa Dhamma. Therefore, we call it undefinable or Navattabbārammaṇa Dhamma. So whenever Ditthikata Sampayutta Chitta is arising in association with a concept, we call it a Navattabbārammaṇa Dhamma. So states having limited, sublime, or undefinable objects. Now we are going to talk about these states, the Paritta, Mahaggata, and the Navattabbārammaṇa Dhamma. So first, now before we spoke about Ditti Sampayutta. Now here we are going to talk about Ditthigata Vippayutta Chitta. So there again, Lobha Chitta. So if a certain person is merely pleased with or delighted at either a limited or a sublime or a conceptual object, however, without any wrong view associated with that particular object, then this is an instance where you get this chitta arising. Or if a person develops aversion, so how will one kind of understand that this kind of thought has arisen? It is by virtue of the domanassa or the grief that arises in that person's mind. So whenever there is aversion, whenever there is a dosa mula chitta occurring, then there will be sadness, there will be domanassa or grief. And then there could also be a vicikicca sampayutta chitta arising in relation to any of these objects. And how do we know that we have got such a thought or such a consciousness? It is by the by not arriving at a decision, or it's a state of doubt or a confusion. So if someone is a bit confused or not really certain about something, that is an instance where the vicikicca sampayutta chitta has occurred. Or it could be uddacca-sahagata. Uddacca-sahagata means distraction. So the mind is unable to focus on one particular object. It keeps shifting from one object to the other. Mind is very distracted. So there is no balance, there is no calmness. So that is an instance of distraction. So this is very common when we sit down to meditate. We can think of everything except for our object of meditation. So that's a very good example of this uddacca-sahagata chitta, especially when we want to sit down and meditate. So these 20 kind of consciousness, that's the 8 jnana vipayutta kusala and kriya, 4 kusala, 4 kriya, and the 12 akusala. None of these states are able to take an appamāṇa dhamma, an immeasurable state, as their object. So for that reason, we call them na Appamāṇārammaṇa. They do not have immeasurable objects as their sense objects. So in the interest of time, I will pause here and I want to move on to a few questions that came up last week. So the first question, I have read in Abhidhamma books that the three virati that arise in Mahakusala Chitta are differentiated into three. Sampatta virati, Samadhana virati, Samucceda virati. Is it right or not? I am confused regarding Samucceda virati because another student said that Samucceda virati does not apply to Mahakusala but to Lokuttara Chitta. Is it right or not? However, in my mind, Samucceda virati is included in Mahakusala too. For example, when a Sekka person in daily life, they practice virati when they have a chance to do akusala action. But the teacher explained that a Sotapanna will not practice virati again because they have destroyed the defilements with Magga Chitta. And a Sotapanna Sila is perfect. So they don't practice virati again. That's why I'm confused regarding this. So so this is the question, and I'll give you the answer next. Yes. So the description that I'm going to talk is from the Atthasālinī, the Dhammasaṅgaṇī commentary. So what are virati? Virati is described as threefold. Sampatta virati, meaning abstinence in spite of an opportunity obtained. Samadhana virati, because of observance. And Samucceda virati, eradication. Now let's look at them one by one. First, we'll look at Sampatta virati, abstinence in spite of opportunity obtained. So now here, this particular person who is undertaking a Sampatta virati has not really observed a particular precept, but they reflect on maybe their status, their birth, their age, their experience, and they think, okay, it is not fit for me to do this sort of bad thing because I belong to this clan, or I belong to this, I have this status in society. So the other people may think ill of me. So for that reason, they may not, they may abstain from doing wrong. So that is an example of Sampatta virati. So there is a nice story given in the Atthasālinī, and this is the story of a lay disciple who lived long ago in Ceylon by the name of Chakkana. So one day Chakkana, his mother was very ill and she was suffering from a certain disease, and the doctor had recommended the fresh flesh of a hare or a rabbit. So Chakkana's brother told Chakkana to go to the field and kill a rabbit and bring home the fresh flesh. So Chakkana went to the field and he managed to catch a hare. And then after catching this hare, he felt bad. He thought, it's not proper for me to take the life of this innocent animal for the sake of saving my mother's life. And with that thought, he released this hare, saying, telling the hare to go back to the jungle and enjoy his life. And then he came back home, and then when the brother asked, did you get the hare? He said, he narrated what had happened. Then his brother reprimanded him, he scolded him, and then Chakkana felt really bad, and then he went to his mother. And in his mother's presence, he said, from the time I was born, I have never intentionally taken the life of any living being, any creature. So with the power of this truth that I'm saying, may my mother be well. And the story goes saying that immediately his mother recovered from that illness. So this is an example of Sampatta virati. And in fact, we call this in our language Satya Kriya, the power of the truth. And this Satya Kriya can be performed by a certain individual who protects a certain or keeps a certain precept without breaking it. And even when it comes to healers, there are certain people who have healing power. So they use the power of their metta, the power of their karuna to heal. So this is, so one may think this is not very scientific, but it actually is, because these are all kind of vibrations. So when a person meditates for a long time, they do metta meditation, they do karuna meditation, they have very good vibrations within themselves. So vibrations are energies. And with practice over a long period of time, they are able to direct these vibrations towards the people who are sick. And with the power of those vibrations, they can heal those people who are sick. So this is an example of using those vibrations, using those good vibrations. The sampatta virati is an example for using those kind of vibrations. Now let's look at samadhana virati, because of observance. So here an individual may observe the precepts, and both during the period of observation and also after the time limit, they, without transgressing against the object, even upon pain of, or upon, like a life-threatening situation, they will still maintain their abstinence. So here there is a story of a lay disciple who dwelled in the mountain called Uttaravadhamana. So this lay disciple, he was a farmer, and he had taken precepts in the presence of a monk called Pingala Buddha Rakkhita, who dwelled in a nearby monastery called Ambariya. So after observing the precepts, he was plowing in his field, and one of his ox got lost. So he had to go looking for it, and he went to this Uttaravadhamana mountain, where a huge python encircled him. So now these farmers, they used to have a habit of carrying an axe on their shoulder. So this man had an axe, and he thought, I'm going to chop this python's head off with my axe. Then again he thought, no, I just observed the precept, so it is not proper for me to do that. I shouldn't break them. And then again he thought, it's all right, I am going to sacrifice my life, but I'm not going to sacrifice my precepts. And he threw away his axe. And then the story goes on to say that immediately this python released this man and just went away. So this is an example of samadhana virati. Even in a life-threatening situation, and if an individual is able to protect the observance, protect without regressing without breaking the precept, then that is called samadhana virati. And now we come to the third group, samucceda virati, eradication. So abstinence by way of eradication. Here we have to understand it in association with the Aryan path. So during the cognitive process of the Magga Chitta Viti, once the path arises, what happens is it eradicates certain defilements. So when you get the Sotapatti Magga Chitta arising, it eradicates 3 fetters. In other words, the 3 fetters translate to the 4 ditthigata sampayutta lobha chitta and the vichikicca chitta. So once a person becomes a sotapanna, a stream enterer, thereafter they will not generate those 5 kinds of akusala or unwholesome consciousness. again, the other thing that gets eradicated is the ability to be reborn in lower subhuman realms. So they will not be born in any of the hells. The reason being, they will not generate unwholesome consciousness or mental factors that will result in such lower rebirths. However, they will continue to generate unwholesome consciousness, which are the four ditthigata vipayutta lobha chitta, the four consciousness dissociated from wrong view. They will have dosa mula chitta, the two dosa mula chitta, as well as uddacha chitta. So those can arise even in a person who is a stream enterer, because they haven't completely eradicated them, but they have cut off the ability to generate significantly bad karma that will result in lower rebirths. So what is this samucceda virati? Samucceda virati is whenever a magga chitta arises, it will eradicate defilements completely in such a way that they will not arise again. So the eradication of defilements doesn't happen all at once. They occur in a stage-wise manner. So we get the first three fetters being eradicated by the stream enterer, and then we get thinning out of kamaraga and patika by the sakadagami, and then by the time the anagami magga chitta arises, there's complete eradication of kamaraga and patika, and then the final 5 fetters are completely eradicated by the arahatta magga chitta. So it occurs in a very stepwise manner. But whatever is eradicated by the magga chitta is completely removed in such a way that it will not arise again. So this is what is meant by abstinence by eradication. So this third samucceda virati is always in association with a magga chitta. So you won't get samucceda virati occurring with a kamavachara, with a sense sphere consciousness. So coming back to the question regarding the sotapanna or the stream enterer, do the virati arise in the mind of a stream enterer? So the answer is yes. So how do we understand it? Now, when it comes to the grave defilements, like killing a certain creature, even that thought will not arise in somebody who has entered the stream. So a sotapanna person will not get that kind of thought, because if you kill a creature, that is a karma that will definitely result in a subhuman rebirth. It's something which is a very grave mistake. So they will not get that kind of severe or that kind of great bad thoughts generating within them, but they may have smaller, less grave thoughts, akusala thoughts developing within them. For instance, they may they would have mana. They may think highly of themselves. Then again, they may develop lobha chitta, which are dissociated with viv. So they may have a desire to be born in a deva sphere, like a heavenly plane, or in a Brahma plane. So those kind of thoughts are there. And so what kind of virati would they be observing? So if you think about that, now remember, they have eradicated only 3 fetters: sakkaya ditthi, vicikicca, and silabbata paramasa. But the other fetters are still there. So they may think of maybe telling a joke, or like pulling somebody's leg, that kind of thing, which is not a grave mistake. It's just for fun. They may think of doing something like that. So those kind of things, they may purposely abstain from doing something like that. So that is an instance of purposely abstaining from such an action. So it may be a physical action, a verbal action, or even a thought. So that is an example for a virati occurring in a stream enterer. So a stream enterer also still continues to walk on the path. He hasn't eradicated all the defilements. So yes, the virati can still occur right until they completely eradicate all their fetters. The last question regarding paccavekkhana chitta. What type of chitta is this? Is it a kama kusala chitta accompanied by knowledge? For an Arya Puggala who reflects on the defilements that are eliminated and what are remaining to be eliminated, their path, fruit, and nibbana. Does that mean that they are recollecting their experience? So, paccavekkhana chitta are kamavachara kusala chitta. So when it comes to paccavekkhana jnana, if we are calling the paccavekkhana jnana, then of course we are talking about the kamavachara jnana sampayutta kusala or the kamavachara jnana sampayutta kriya chitta. So in this instance, what is being reviewed are the four supramundane paths, the four supramundane fruitions, nibbana, and in addition, they may review the defilements that they have already eradicated, and also they may review the remaining defilements that are yet to be eradicated. So those are the different ways of reviewing or paccavekkhana. However, paccavekkhana can occur even without jnana. So we have already described before, there are certain instances when somebody may think without really having a lot of wisdom. They may still generate a kamavachara kusala or a kamavachara kriya chitta without wisdom being associated with it. But it will not occur in relation to the supramundane things. So the supramundane magga, phala, and nibbana will not be an object of the kamavachara jnana vipayutta kusala or kriya. So it must be associated with wisdom if the object is going to be something supramundane. So, however, a person may review their defilements that are eradicated or the remaining defilements without being associated with wisdom. So the answer for this question would be paccavekkhana itself can either take place either with wisdom or without wisdom. However, when the paccavekkhana is in relation to the supramundane things, that is the four magga, the four phala, and nibbana, then it will be associated with wisdom. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for questions, but feel free to email any questions. The next lesson will be on the 2nd of March. Now time to share merits. Please join me.
那大家呢，现在可以跟着老师呢一起做这个功德回向。
Ākāsattā ca bummattā devā nāgā mahittika puññantaṃ anumoditva chiran rakkantu sāsanaṃ chiran rakkantu desanaṃ chiran rakkantu mamparaṃ. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñāteyo. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñāteyo. Idam me ñātīnaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñāteyo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idam me punyang asavakya vahang hotu. Idam me punyang nibbanassa paccayo hotu. Mama punya bhagang sabba sattanam bhajevi. Te sabbe punya bhagang labantu. Buddha Sāsanam Chiran Tiktatu, Buddha Sāsanam Chiran Tiktatu, Buddha Sāsanam Chiran Tiktatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Anumodana, teacher.
Good night, all.